It is, but the beautiful thing is they show me that the blueprint, they can
Hmm.
modify everything in the physical reality all they want to.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
can't modify the blueprint.
Hmm.
So the blueprint of man and the blueprint of nature and the blueprint of like the big trees and all the stuff that used to be on the earth before, they're still existing in their perfect form. They can't be altered. It's like this, they show me it's the one thing they can't touch. And
Hmm.
these blueprints, I do think we're going to be able to have access to start reactivating them. And they found now with epigenetics, if you tell your DNA, it will respond to what you tell it. So you can
Yeah.
put your mind and your body into a different environment and
Hmm.
command it with different information, different words, different stimulus, different lights, different frequencies, and you can literally change the DNA.
Yeah, even like inborn characteristics like the color of your eye. I know somebody who was born with green eyes and changed them to blue because she wanted blue eyes.
You know what? I'm doing that now, Dalibor, and it's almost transferred. I almost have blue eyes now, but my eyes were actually
Okay.
hazel green. They were yellow green my whole life growing up.
Oh my God! Wow. So
And
you're
they're
you're
blue
doing it
green
too.
now. I have an inner
Hmm.
green ring and an outer dark blue ring now. And I never had that
Yeah.
until I was in my
Yeah.
30s.
See, that's proof. That's proof to people on the
Yeah.
outside that you can do anything you want. Basically, that you have that power. That the powers, the superpowers, are real, and that any
Well, it
one
was
of us
weird
can
too,
manifest
because
them. Mhm. See, yeah, a lot of this happens to people after undergoing a traumatic consciousness, usually where like the conscious mind is somehow inhibited, like a drug incident or psychedelic experience of some kind, or an out of body experience, a near death experience, or other like out of the ordinary traumatic event that they
you know,
start gaining these abilities.
the most profound experiences I ever had in my whole life were when I was a kid.
Hmm.
And there was no
Yeah,
nothing involved with that. That was just me and
yeah.
my dog and nature, just laying down and letting you just get out of your body and just go. And it
Hmm.
was so organic and so natural and so easy. And I could do it like that. I didn't
Yeah.
have to get into a relaxed state and light candles and do, no, none of that needed. I was just like, okay, close my
Hmm.
eyes. I could be sitting up. I could be riding my dirt bike and I could literally transfer my consciousness to the higher realms and go talk to the people I liked, like the Lord and other beings and whatever,
Hmm.
just by simply wishing it to be so. And there
Hmm.
was no travel time. I was
Hmm.
just instantly there. And I still
Hmm.
do that now. When I travel, most people astral travel, they like get out of their body, they go through the whole. I don't. I'm like, oh, I'm
Hmm.
going to go somewhere. I like close my eyes and boom, I wake up, I'm there. I'm just instantly there. So I just
Hmm.
go straight to it by thought. I don't need any of that other stuff. I just go. So
Hmm.
trust your process if you're just people that do that. Cause a lot of people are like, they don't think they're doing it because it's so natural and so easy. It's like, no, that's just how
Hmm.
you do it. So
Hmm.
it's all right. It's okay. So, but
Hmm.
yeah, we're all doing it different.
Yeah, and speaking of like the flying thing, I distinctly remember as a kid, I was obsessed with flying, and I always had like these flying dreams as a child. And we lived on a pretty big property in New Jersey, and I I spent my free time by making hang gliders and jumping off the barn. I started out with like parachutes because my father, he worked in a factory that handled all these like materials that came on rolls. A lot of it was like tarp type material, so I had all of this stuff to play around with, and plus, like he played around with wood and stuff. So I would use a lot of this like used lumber and make these contraptions that I would use to actually take off in flight, but for very short distances. And I was always like trying to recreate that same feeling I would get when I would dream about these sorts of things.
Yes,
So
that's the power of a child. That just
yeah,
raw anticipation and excitement. And you wake up and you're like, what am I going to do today? We've lost that. That's what they've
yeah.
squashed out of us. And that's our greatest superpower. So
Hmm.
if we could find a way to get back to that, oh, that's going
Yeah,
to be
and
miraculous.
we've lost it in more ways than one because, like, would I try any of this stuff on my own nowadays in my age? No, I'd be too afraid. I'd be like, oh my god, I'm gonna break my leg, I'm gonna break my arm, I don't, my medical insurance is not gonna cover this, uh, things like that. Whereas as a kid, you don't think about these things, you just do them.
Yeah. That
That's
was the
the
thing.
beauty
I
of it.
when I was a child, I could do so many of these things just so organically. And
Yeah. I used to
it
climb
was
this tree that was like twice the height of our house, and we had like a two-story house, and this thing was it was like a hemlock, like a type of pine tree. It was huge, and I would climb it all the way to the top, where it got like this big around the trunk, and just lounge out there and just check out the whole city. And even as a kid, I would always think, man, this looks exactly like a circuit board. We're looking
yeah,
down, like, okay, these are like the connections, and that would be like a capacitor, that would be a coil,
yeah.
you know?
That's amazing. See, and I couldn't see it as a circuit board, but I could see it as patterns. I
Yeah.
could see it as uh like veins through the earth, like
Hmm.
roots. I would be shown in nature constructs. That's how they would show me because I didn't understand any technology in my
Hmm.
consciousness. I was 3 and 4 and 7. Yeah, none of that was in there at all. So they
Hmm.
would show me like the mushroom psilocybin thing. They would show me that like grids. And when I was a
Hmm.
little kid, I used to draw all the time spirals and checkerboards. So they were
Spirals
showing
and
me all the
checkerboards.
time
Yeah.
that the energy is traveling through the grid, the black and whites, and they were showing me, and they're like,
Hmm.
and when you're in between, that's when you're gray. They're like gray is confusion. Gray is when you don't know which way to go, or you're just stuck going, not knowing what to do. They're like gray there. So they would
Hmm.
show me all this stuff when I was a kid, and it was so profound. And I look at this all the time. It's like, what is the nature of our reality? I know it's a realm and it's a construct. And now I can see the computer part of it. And I can see how this body
Hmm.
is a brilliant bioorganic holographic machine, but it's
Yeah.
nonetheless, it's a machine. And I'm utilizing it for this experience and then it will be done. So
Hmm.
when I'm looking at these realms, I'm like, what is this place? Is this a construct? It seems like it's a sphere, and what I keep being seen is it's a sphere with
Hmm.
12 layers of realms in it. But each one of those realms, this is where my brain explodes, has dimensions within each realm. So each realm has multiple bands of dimensions within the realm. And these
Hmm.
realms are right on top of each other, just like
Hmm.
our chakra system would be seen. So then, and then I'm seeing, okay, so there's 12 major realms of the earth, that is what I'm seeing. And then they're showing me all the dimensions inside. And then when I get into the dimensions, they're showing me it's like diamonds
Hmm.
inside the dimension. So from the diamond is emanating all these different facets of light, all different directions. And that's where you
Hmm.
get time
So
because
it's
the
the
time
implosion and the
comes from
explosion.
yeah, well, the time is coming from the diamond because
Hmm.
it's expanding in 360 degrees and it's flashing and it's going in all different directions, different colors, and it's recording
Hmm.
everything. It's that's what they're showing me, and that's the diamonds in the sky. And then I was thinking about, oh my God, okay, well then they say the stars are fixed in the
Hmm.
firmament.
Yeah.
So that means that those points of lights are us and we're trapped in the firmament.
Something like that, because those spirals that you were drawing, that's the power of the implosion versus the explosion, the external versus the internal. The grids that you were drawing, that's the Cartesian control grid of the matrix that we're stuck in right now. And each one of those levels that you saw is like a different game, where to
Yes,
interact on that level, you have to have the right rules, know the rules, and have the right
that's the
piece.
soul.
In other words, if you're playing somebody in a game of pool, you're not going to win by setting up chess pieces on the pool table. You know?
Correct. Yep. And that's what I think the soul does. The soul has the ability to take on the construct So
Yeah.
when the soul enters into the construct, it gets defined by the realm. The realm codes the body through the soul, but the soul
Right.
has the universal construct information within it, but it
Hmm.
takes what it needs for your body or whatever you're inhabiting in that realm to function in that realm and have a basic construct of that realm. And I think that's what goes into the DNA, is so you
Hmm.
can have an understanding from the past people that have been there or beings or whatever they are. So you have a foundation of an instinctual knowing so you can operate in that construct or you wouldn't last 2 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like you wouldn't, if you had no DNA in this realm, you wouldn't last
Yeah,
2 minutes because
not two
every
minutes,
living
right? You could
thing,
never,
every
right? You'd
living thing
never
has DNA.
exist.
Yeah.
Yep,
Hmm.
yep.
So that's pretty much a very good analogy of it. Yeah. Where I feel the same way that souls, they come here to interact, to play this game and to advance themselves, to get better at whatever it is that they're supposed to be learning in this particular game. And just like DNA can recombine, DNA can split, DNA can fuse, DNA can mutate, and so can the soul.
Yes,
So can the
yes.
soul. That's why, because the original soul was what we would call God, which split into two, which then each part
Mhm.
split into two, split into two, split into four, six, 16, 64, the whole
Yep,
9 yards.
yep,
So that's
yep.
why that's why right now you have 8 billion souls on the planet, which is more souls than have before now even existed. We've never had this many souls on the
See, I don't
planet,
think that's
dead or
true.
alive.
I
Well,
think
see,
we've
that's
had
what we're
more.
expected to. I know that's what we're expected to believe, and we have no way of independently verifying this. I mean, I live in a city of 40,000 people, but is there any easy way for me to verify that there's actually 40,000 people living here?
Right.
You
And
know?
I think Dalibor, I think that's one of the most important reasons that they have to keep the population numbers down, because
Yeah.
I think the number of souls that were created for like this type of experience, like there might be a number of it. I don't know if there is or not, but what they show me every time I ask that question, they're like, kind of like, duh, as
Hmm.
above, so below. So when they tell me how many, I say, how many souls are there in this whole situation? They said, how many cells are in your body? That's
Yes.
all they tell me. How many
Yeah.
cells are in your body? So what, 3.5 trillion or something? Or that's what it is.
Depends on who you ask.
That's what I mean. So they're like, well, how many cells are in your body? All bodies have a little bit of a different, depending on the size, whatever. But basically, roughly, when you want to ask these questions, all you have to do is look at the world around you, because as above, so below, as within, so without.
So with
So
that,
I'm
yeah.
like, how many souls? How many cells? That's what they
Hmm.
tell me every time. How many
Hmm.
souls? Well,
How
how
many
many
souls? How
cells?
many souls? Yeah. Good analogy. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but even
God's
so, like
simple,
even.
for real.
But even with let's say if you assume that the 8 billion figure is an understatement, that's still a very large number. And when you consider the fact that I met somebody with the exact same scar on the exact same hand, the same exact shape, same exact length, so theoretically the chances of that are more than 1 in 8 billion, which in and of itself
What
is
if
kind of mind blowing.
But you know what I just saw in my head? They were like, okay, but what if you, as a soul in a construct, what if the 3 trillion or so cells in your body are
Hmm.
all potentially existing in the different realms of this reality?
Well, in a sense they are,
So
because some of them.
you could be existing in 3 trillion other opportunities simultaneously as a
Yeah.
cell in a different matrix. And so all of these bodies, they could be
Hmm.
fractals of a very small group, but they fractal out in billions of different directions and billions of different ways, because our Merkaba is
Hmm.
spinning like a diamond in the sky, and it's shooting light in all these different directions, and all of them are consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
crazy.
I think I see what you're saying, and I think I agree with that because I've moved internationally so far. It would be something like 8 times, right? Where I've relocated to a different country on a different continent, I must say, and every time I would get like uh, doppelgangers, people that I thought I knew, but I'd have to like, I'd come up to them and say, "Hey, what's up?" And it would be somebody completely different, even though he would be the spitting image, same clothes, same
Wow.
walk, same everything as like somebody I knew in the United States. You know,
Yep. Yep.
which
Yep.
goes to show you that what if that's the same soul living in two different bodies on two different continents, where there's zero chance of those two interacting ever, and
Yeah.
nobody's going to connect the dots. Only somebody like me. And if I tell somebody about it, they're probably going to be like, "Oh, well, you're probably just mistaken. Your eyesight's not that good." Um,
Well, Dalibor, I have a strange story. When I was in high school for 3 weeks, all of my friends kept telling me, "Hey, I saw you at the bowling alley." I'm like, "I didn't go to the bowling alley." They're like, "Dude, we saw you at the bowling alley." I'm like, "I wasn't at the bowling alley." They're like, "Whatever." And they'd walk away. I kept hearing it, kept hearing it. Finally, I kept hearing, "No, there's a girl working at the bowling alley and she's your doppelganger. She's your twin. She looks just like you. She sounds like you. She has the same hair as you. And her name was Teresa and I was
oh my
Trina. So our names were even
god, they're
similar. So
similar.
she was Teresa, I was Trina. And then
Hmm.
so everybody kept calling her Trina at the bowling alley and she was getting pissed and she wouldn't answer to the name. So
Uh-huh.
so I went to go finally see this girl because I kept hearing it. I was like, oh, whatever. I didn't,
Yeah.
whatever, whatever. After 3 weeks of hearing it, I'm like, I'm going to see this girl at the bowling alley. I went there.
Uh-huh.
She left the day before to move out of the state. So as soon as I went to
Oh
see
my
her, she
god.
was gone.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you prevented like worlds from colliding, literally,
I
like an
guess so,
implosion.
man, because she was gone. I mean, and she was there
That's
for 3 weeks and then she was
that's
gone. The day I went to go there, she was gone 24 hours, just one day.
that's
Yep.
incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, the
Yeah, that
Matrix is
was really
protecting itself.
weird.
Yeah, the Matrix
Huh?
is protecting itself because who knows what you may have told her,
Yeah,
or she may have told you, or what if that
right.
was
And,
your soul?
and
What if
just
that?
to to see your reflection when you don't
Hmm.
have a twin,
Yeah,
that's right there would be intense because they
yeah,
said, no, she sounds like you, she walks like you, she talks like you. They're like, we argued with her and she
yeah.
got so pissed off she almost made us get kicked out of the bowling alley. But we thought you were screwing with us, Trina. I'm like, no, it was not me. I'm like,
Yeah,
I was not at the bowling alley fighting with you. I
yeah,
promise.
yeah, yeah.
They're like, well, it's
That's
weird. You need to go
amazing.
see this girl. I was like, okay, I will.
Yeah, yeah.
Gone.
That's weird. Yeah.
Gone.
I mean, you have many such like instances of like the Matrix revealing itself as being something
Yeah.
that it can't possibly be. In other words, that it's intelligently controlled, intelligently designed in some way. You have so many bizarre coincidences. Just the stuff that's happened to me with my mobile phone, the one I bought last, and where I my old cell phone broke, so I was asking around various people like, what would you recommend as a brand of cell phone? And everybody was saying, well, get yourself a Samsung Galaxy because that's what I have, and including my next door neighbor. Now, so I found one on eBay, a used one, paid for it, except that the confirmation code for sending the payment was 412166, which was my telephone number from 30 years ago minus 40. Okay. The exact telephone number minus 40. Then I get the package in the mail, and it's from the lady that used to live in that apartment where the guy who recommended that I buy that phone from. So I bought it from her, and she used to live
Hmm.
in that apartment. It's like
That's so
literally, what are the
strange.
chances? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I
It's
said, the universe is mind blowing. The universal construct is so mind blowing, and I
mm,
think that we're starting to figure out now finally how to utilize it, how to
mhm,
reconnect with how we got shut off. We're starting to investigate the potential that maybe we have been shut off, and the potential is like, okay, well, how do you fix it? Because there's nothing that's broken we can't fix. I
true.
I know that this is true. I know it. So
Hmm.
you know, we
The
are, I think,
thing
at a
we should.
level of consciousness that
Mhm,
is going to create a lot of problems because we're going to be breaking free.
Yeah.
So through
Yeah.
that, it's going to be a little bit of a rocky ride because when you break free from your prison, the wardens go a little crazy for a while. So it's going
Hmm.
to be a little bit of a ride.
Hmm. Yeah. And see what it's going to show us, I think, is A, we are much more powerful than we'd even like to believe. B, we're even more powerful than these evildoers, these elites that control us for nefarious ends. And C, there's going to be a mass awakening of this, and it's going to trigger changes unlike any we've ever seen before. Because, as we discussed before the show, nothing that we were afraid of 30, 40 years ago ever materialized the way we thought it would materialize.